arcade version planned for you. After an age of non-activity, the Giants website has finally visited 2 high-res and 2 new movies of this long-delayed PC title. Giant Citizen Kabuto is Interplay's stunning new real-time strategy game and features stunning graphics as well as innovative gameplay. Pop along to the website to see for yourself, and once you've digested what's on offer, remember to return to Game Over for more updates on this potential PC blockbuster. As the US release of Shenmue approaches, Sega have announced a special edition of the game will be available to our Yank friends. Yu Suzuki's masterpiece and the most expensive game.
Okay folks, this is, I think she's impressed, this is the VX220 Roadster. Now if you wish to buy this car, it will cost you a mere £25,000. But don't let the price tag put you off, because if you buy a game for the Dreamcast called Metropolis Street Racer, you can buy and drive one of these cars. Now this particular game has been delayed for nearly over a year now, but it is nearing completion. Anyway, me and Juliet, we're going for a spin. So how tall are you, Treacle?
6'4".
Well, same height as me, love. With me heels on. Go on, girl, get in.
Games get delayed. It's a fact of gaming life, and usually it's for the best. Game being delayed for over a year. Now that's got to be taking the biscuit. Well, when the title in question is Metropolis Street Racer, the most ambitious drive 'em up ever devised, you can probably allow the programmers some slack. Originally scheduled to be a European Dreamcast launch title, MSR has been pushed back numerous times, whilst developers Bizarre Creations have tweaked the game to perfection. And this latest preview build bodes well for the final release. Sadly, Game Over only had a single car to play with, but when it's the breathtaking VX20, and there was only one selectable track, but once you get behind the wheels and excel away, this minor preview gripe is forgotten too. Now, MSR looks and sounds stunning as this new footage will showcase, but there have been numerous gameplay additions too. Control-wise, the game is probably a mix of F355 realism mixed with a little Ridge Racer-like arcade speed and handling. It takes a little getting used to, but soon you'll be hand-braking around corners like a pro. Another neat time-based game reads your dream clock, so 4 in the afternoon you'll get a beautiful sunset, morning, and you'll be met with stunning night scenery and lighting effects. These are just a couple of the many new features implemented in this awesome racing title, which thankfully is finally reaching completion. And this time, they really mean it. Trust Game Over when we tell you that Metropolis Street Racer has been more than worth the wait. It's not every day a game comes along that completely rewrites the rulebook. MSR does exactly this, and proves that all of the processing power in the world is nothing without solid.
Now, Colin McRae Rally 2 for the PlayStation was a huge success, and it looks to do the same on the PC. The only thing is, though, it's a very tricky game, so here's Mo with a masterclass.
Now, Colin McRae 2 is an awesome game, easily one of the best racing games available on the PlayStation. Only problem is, it's a bit hard to master, but this Game Over masterclass should help ease the frustration. First up, the cars. The Ford Focus is a good all-rounder for mud and tarmac tracks. The speed and accelerate with solid one car you can bend in all weather conditions. The Mitsubishi Lanter is heavier and larger than the Focus. It does grip the road very well, but the downside is power sliding is more difficult. The Corolla is a slow accelerator but can build up to a great top speed. This car has great power sliding ability, which this is the ideal for wet and slippery tracks. The Seat Cordoba is a nippy little motor, but it is slower than the other cars. However, advantages include loose handling, which is ideal for riding. The Subaru Impreza, like the Lancer, is another car that takes some getting used to. Explosive acceleration coupled with a decent top speed mean it can tear up tarmac and gravel courses. However, mud and snow can be problematic. The Peugeot 206 is another tiny car. It has its own handling attributes that you'll either love or hate, so experiment to see if it fits your driving style. Once you've picked your car, you need to know your terrain. Tarmac is your friend because you can get up to ridiculous speed levels and corners are easier to take. More than with any other surface, push your car to the limits. Acceleration is less grip. Suspension should be set on a softer setting than tarmac, and if raining, softer still. Dry mud isn't so bad and offers reasonable grip. However, wet mud can be your worst enemy, causing you to slip and slide all over the shop. Raise your car's suspension so you don't damage your car's underside as you go over the bumps. If you thought mud was bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. Even with your special tyres fitted, you'll still be faced with a stiff challenge. More than with any other surface, you have to very gently and press on so. It's very easy to get into spins and lose valuable seconds. Before you start racing, set up the braking bias and acceleration power ratio to initiate better power slides. Learn the colour of the boxes so you can judge the corner rather than having to rely on the arrows, and don't always depend on your co-driver. Sometimes there are multiple corners and they'll give you a couple of lightning quick instructions which may confuse you. Focus on the road ahead instead. Now here are some tips on how to tackle some of the harder corners in the game. Right angle. Approach from the outside and slow down. Remember, slow in, fast out. Turn in, still braking, and once you see the exit, power out. Very tight bend. Once again, approach from the outside, but again, braking early. You'll need to slide the car more than with the right angle bend, so ease off and apply the accelerator to prolong this. Keep the noise of the car as close to the apex of the bend as possible, and then counter steer and accelerate out of the corner. The hairpin. Hard cornering is the order of the day here. Move to the outside of the bend, but slam on the brakes as you're accelerating. Just before the bend and still braking, turn the car hard. Produce a vicious power slide. Release the brake when you're facing the right direction and power out. This is trickier than it sounds, but once you've mastered it, it's time to shave those lap records.
Now this, folks, is the Lotus Exceed. You can do 0 to 60 in under 4.7 seconds. So if you're a little bit of a boy racer and you've saved up enough money on your paper round, then this is the vehicle for you. If you're into racing and you love your motorbikes, then you're going to love this next game. It's called Moto Racer World Tour. It's for the PlayStation, and take a look at this.
It's number 3 in the Moto Racer series for the PlayStation. Will this World Tour edition be a case of third time lucky? It's over to the assassins to find out.
On PlayStation, it's mostly been a case of 4 wheels good, 2 wheels much worse in terms of racing games. Bike racing games really haven't had a look in. The only exception has been the Moto Racer series, which have been okay, not great. So it's kind of pleasant, in a kind of mediocre kind of way, to see that Moto Racer World Tour brings back this series for its third outing.
The good thing is this is a massive improvement over the ones that have come before. You've got more bikes, you've got more modes, and you've got more realism. There are 3 main different championship modes. First being speed racing, then Supercross, and finally World Tour, the best of which is easily Supercross. It's kind of an exciter bike thing, only not as good.
To play, Motor Racer World Tour is nowhere near as full-on as something like Ricky Carmichael's Championship Motocross. It often does feel like you're piloting strange 2-wheeled cars, simply because it's really quite difficult to fall off. That said, it's pretty good fun, and it's intensely fast all the way through. And this time round, it's got some real-world tracks, which, if nothing else, should keep the bike fanatics happy. If you're one of the few who's been following the Motor Racer series since the beginning, you will be slightly disappointed to note that the track editor, which made a welcome appearance in Motor Racer 2, seems to have completely disappeared again. Bit of a nasty surprise there, but hey, can't have everything.
Fans of the Moto Racer series, I think, are going to be really disappointed about the removal of the track editor. And given that there are less tracks in this game than there were in the previous, this could be one of its downfalls.
If you somehow managed to be a fan of the always okay, never quite great Motor Racer series, then Motor Racer World Tour really wouldn't disappoint. If, however, like the rest of us, you're getting pretty bored of straight-up racing sequels, and you're getting pretty bored of your PlayStation, then you'll be pretty damn bored of Motor Racer World Tour.
Yes, have you got one in pink and with leopard seat covers? Thank you. This, folks, is a Rolls-Royce Corniche V8. A mere £250,000 will get you one of these fantastic vehicles. Anyway, that's the end of part 1. Join us in part 2 for more glamorous cars and more glamorous games for you to buy. We'll see you in 2. This is a bit of me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
you remember the good old days? Machina is bringing them back.
All right.
Some old favourites make a welcome return in the newest game and movie releases.
If this thing gets out in the general public, we may have a problem.
Whatever your age, it's sure to blow you away. Ex Machina, Monday at 7:30 on .tv.
Dogs love Christmas too, especially when you give them new Caesar Christmas menu with goose and turkey. It's what every dog's hoping to get this Christmas.
Do something, Prince Ned.
No, but I hate them.
Not more than me. I hate them more than you. I do. Be careful. Don't hurt its legs.
Throw it out the window.
Well done, well done.
The white stuff. Are you made of it?
Don't be intimidated by computers and the internet. Get Doors magazine starting this and every Sunday in the Sunday Times.
Right, sunshine. Where's all the cheap TVs, videos, DVDs, hi-fis, and camcorders then?
I don't know.
Shove. What's all this then?
Digitalchoice.co.uk. So cheap, it's criminal.
Starburst original chews now include blackcurrant. Starburst, get your juices going.
Welcome back, folks, to part 2 of Game Over here at the Motor Show at the NEC in Birmingham. Now it's time for the second of our previews. The game is called MotoGP from Namco. It's for the PlayStation 2 and it involves high-powered motorbikes hurtling around circuits of speeds of excess of 200 miles an hour. It's fast, it's furious, wear a crash helmet. Anyway, I feel the need for speed.
PlayStation 2 has had a bit of a shaky start, but one company that has been at Sony's side through thick and thin is Namco. The Japanese gaming powerhouse provided a launch title in the form of Ridge Racer 5, and then Law & Co. arrived in the form of Tekken Tag Tournament. But both these games, although visually quite impressive, left a lot to be desired in gameplay. To put it bluntly, fresh graphics couldn't hide the seen-it-all-before feel. MotoGP is different. Namco are going to prove that they can release an original title for the PS2 and inject it with playability to die for. The game seems to be running on the Ridge Racer engine, so visually MotoGP looks stunning and zips along smoothly. But thankfully, Ridge Racer's simplistic handling hasn't been carried over. This is speedy, super speed biking of the highest order, as you hurtle down real-world tracks, battling for position. Riders lean dangerously into corners for maximum turning angles, before straightening up and accelerating away. Competitors peek over their shoulders when you're approaching from behind, and depending on their AI, will either give you way or just give you aggro. Yep, this isn't brainless hold down the pedal and steer mechanics. Rather, use the analog throttle, brakes and handling wisely to get to the top of the grid. Amazingly, this is the first must-have title on the PlayStation 2, and an excellent game in its own right. Namco have proven that gameplay can exist on the PS2. The question is, how quickly can other developers follow suit? MotoGP has just been released in Japan to rave reviews. The sooner it's released in Europe, the better.
Imagine the pizzas you could deliver if you had this type of bike. It's a Harley-Davidson Fat Boy. It is a true superbike and it's wild, wild, wild. Now, on that subject, it's time now for our feature. The game is called Wild Wild Racing. It's for the PlayStation 2. Take a little shifty at this.
Hello,
Today we're at Rage Software. I'm with Christian Ramsey-Jones, who's one of the chief designers, producers of Wild Wild Racing, a game for PlayStation 2. So Christian, how did you start off on PlayStation 2?
Well, we started last September with Wild Wild Racing, actually, with our programming team went out to Japan to start learning how to use the PlayStation 2. And but we started with a game engine from our Birmingham office, which is a physics engine and game creation engine, so that we could get straight in and start creating levels while the programming team were learning how to use the PlayStation 2 over in Japan.
Where's the game here? It's all looking pretty smooth at the moment. Was it always this smooth?
No, it wasn't. No, when we first had the game running on the PC, when we started creating levels, we found that we were getting a decent enough frame rate, but the draw distance was quite short. And but we went ahead and we started getting the levels playing properly. And obviously the physics engine was the first thing we created. Racing games are a very popular title on the PlayStation. So like they account for getting over half of all the titles published on the PlayStation. So we knew we were on for a good bet there, really. Plus we had a dynamics engine, a physics engine, which allowed us to do very complicated things with the cars, with leaping around, with different surfaces skidding, and so we wanted to exploit that as much as possible.
The vehicles in all-terrain racing require a different physics than for road racing.
One of the first things we started doing with Wild Wild Racing when we started on the game was to start diving into the physics engine and start to edit some values and getting the vehicles handling in a way that we felt was interesting. So we were looking around at the current sort of types of game that are around, and one of my favourites is Colin McRae Rally, with the way that the vehicle slides, and so we wanted to get that in there, and so we got that in there, and started getting the vehicle to handle in more of a slidey sort of way rather than just straightforward, like Need for Speed style gameplay where you're just going sort of like belting straight ahead. Producing all the different vehicles in the game was relatively easily because we took one handling model and then modified that slightly to get all the different vehicles. So we've got a whole range of vehicles with different properties such as maximum speed, acceleration, handling, and obviously different looks.
The game was designed from the outset to require different skills for different stages.
The level design featured a lot of relief in the terrain, so there's lots of up and down. So each of the levels is divided into three areas. Actually, there's uphill, downhill, and point-to-point sections. So each a minute long, and so you're looking at around about 3 minutes for a lap of levels. We use that again in the time attack mode, where we have uphill, downhill, and point-to-point time attacks, which are separate game modes, which require a very different style of driving. Because obviously you've got to brake more when you're going downhill, and you've got to have a more powerful car when you're doing more the uphill sort of time attacks, and you need a good handling car, really, sort of like the flat sort of stuff.
Weather conditions from around the world have been incorporated into the game.
Those levels use the 5 main race worlds that we've created, which is USA, India, Iceland, Mexico, and Australia. So they're set all across the world, and it allowed us to basically to play around with different weather conditions, to play around with different looks, and to get a different feel for each of the race worlds.
There's also the opportunity for those with a bit more ambition to show off their skills.
We've also got challenge worlds, and we've got there's 18 different challenge games, but we've constructed some dedicated challenge worlds for some of these, and these require the player to drive over an extreme course in the stunt levels and do like ridiculously long jumps and climb to the top of big, huge mountains and what have you. So we've really gone to town really with the stunt worlds and pushed the physics engine to its absolute limits.
As you can see, I'm playing the 2-player game here, and I'm getting thrashed. But that's because I'm playing the lead designer of the game, so you'd expect it. So Christian, I'm going to give up on this. Tell us about 2-player game.
Basically, the 2-player game is a vertical split screen, and we have just basically like 2 people racing on screen at any time. But what Wild Wild Racing has allowed us to do with the 2-player game is to put a lot of things into the levels, such as some areas where you can barge other people off the track and make them go down mountainsides, and things such as that. Yeah, so it's a bit different to the usual sort of like 2-player splits on most racing games.
So Christian, it's looking great at the moment. How near is this to completion?
We're about 99% complete really now. We're just in the final stages of bug testing and just going through, tweaking a few values here and there, and making sure that we haven't, making sure everything's together really. So we're very close. We're about a week away now really.
So when are we going to see it in the shops?
We'll see it in the shops at the same time as PlayStation 2. It'll be ready and on the shelves with the PlayStation 2, so...
It's November then?
Yep, so, well, November the 24th, I think now, yeah.
Okay, well, Christian, thanks very much indeed.
All right.
Thanks so much for the range.
Thanks very much.
Great.
Cheers. Nice one.
Now, Yu Suzuki is back with more gaming magic. The game is F355 Challenge for the Dreamcast, and what you have to do is push a Ferrari to its limits, like this one. Now, I must admit, even sitting in a Ferrari has got me dribbling with excitement. But will our assassins be impressed? Well, let's take a look. Oh yeah, I like this.
It's breakneck Ferrari racing time. Apparently, this is a difficult game to get to grips with. But will F355 challenge the assassins?
F355 Challenge is an attempt by Yu Suzuki, the legendary game producer behind such titles as Hang On and Virtua Fighter, to create the ultimate racing simulation. And really, in almost every way he succeeds, but be warned, this game is not for the faint-hearted.
The modes included in the game are nothing out of the ordinary. You've got your arcade mode, which is the same as every other racing game, single play, race around different tracks, try them out, and your championship mode where you work your way through the championship. The gameplay works surprisingly well on two different levels. Firstly, for beginners, if you're just starting off on the game, you can leave everything on. You're totally computer assisted. So you've got stability, your traction, and your braking all done for you. And as you first start off in the game, you can put the racing line onto the screen, so you know exactly where you're going. As you start to get better, you can take these things off, take off your traction, then start to take off your stability. So you ease yourself in to racing a proper Ferrari.
Not only does F355 Challenge only offer you one car to get to grips with, there's only one point of view, in car, hardcore. But the thing is, this game looks so amazingly good, you'll forgive it the lack of choice. The road surface is unbelievably detailed and creates a real sense of speed, and all the other Ferraris you're jostling with are absolutely pin sharp. All the sounds are perfect, except for just one thing, the soundtrack. God-awful Japanese rock. But hey, it's a little thing. We may have mentioned this before, but F355 Challenge really is insanely hard. You might be thinking to yourself, hey, I can handle games with realistic handling. But this game really does make Gran Turismo look like Crash Team Racing. You really have to learn to feel the weight of the car as you go into the bends. You really have to get it at the correct angle, get everything right. Otherwise you'll be spinning helplessly along the verge. And that's not even mentioning how clever the AI drivers are. Every single one of them is a racetrack Einstein. You have to watch your back constantly. This is probably the hardest racing game ever to hit any console. Be warned.
As far as multiplayer goes, I think they've missed a real opportunity here for online play. Racing against, say, 6 other people would have been a cracking laugh. But having said that, there's 2-player, no slowdown at all, which is nice, and there's also the option of a cable link-up. 2 Dreamcasts, 2 TVs. Good timing.
F355 Challenge will definitely not be to everyone's taste. It's unbelievably hard, unbelievably full-on, and there's only one car. But if you're looking for a full-on racing sim, this is the one.
Well, there we are, folks. That's the end of today's show. It's also the end for me as well. It's been a great 401 shows. I personally would like to say a big thank you to all the crew, and also to you lot out there. Thanks for watching. I hope I haven't upset too many of you. If you want to get in touch with us, our website address is www.tvchannel.co.uk/gameover. For the last time ever, stay lucky, be happy, and remember, you gotta keep smiling. I think I'm gonna cry.
Log on to the .tv website for a chance to win a copy of the new PlayStation snowboarding game, MTV Sports Pure Ride. at www.tvchannel.co.uk.